At the beginning of September, Cam Thomas decided his future with the Brooklyn Nets. He accepted the qualifying offer and secured a no-trade clause, entering unrestricted free agency in 2026. A bold move, but one that raised alarms in other franchises. This is where Jonathan Kuminga comes in. Like Thomas, he could reject the $45 million two-year offer made by the Golden State Warriors and follow the same qualifying offer path. If that happens, the Warriors risk losing their 22-year-old jewel, but they also gain flexibility to trade him before the trade deadline. In that salary range, 3 names are starting to appear as potential targets for Golden State. Trade target 1, Trey Murphy III. He's not an all-star, not yet the face of a franchise, but if you follow the numbers, you know this guy is already turning heads in the NBA. Today we're going to analyze why he could be the perfect player for the Warriors at this moment, what he's already shown in New Orleans, and how a possible trade could change the future of 2 franchises. Last season, Trey Murphy established himself as one of the best non-all-star players in the league. He proved to the New Orleans Pelicans that he can be much more than just a role player. Even with fewer than 16 shots per game, he posted elite numbers, 21.2 points per game, with an incredible 59.8% shooting efficiency. And despite still playing at a high level, he doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time. He can impact the game without monopolizing possession, something that fits perfectly in ball movement systems like Golden State's. The problem? The Pelicans know this too and have set a very high price for any trade. On the other side, though, is a team desperate to keep Curry competitive until the end of his career. The Warriors. Let's first look at it from the Warriors' perspective. Golden State faces a dilemma. Keep the veteran core or bet on a rebuild. Curry's time is now, and the team can't afford to make mistakes. The trade for Chris Paul was risky, but didn't solve the issues of youth defense and offensive consistency. This is where Murphy comes in as a strategic solution. He has the size of a forward, standing 2.06 meters tall, something the Warriors have always needed. He can defend multiple positions, giving Wiggins rest, and even easing the load on Klay, who no longer has the same physical edge. Additionally, he's a reliable shooter who doesn't disrupt the team's fast pass system. For the Pelicans, the situation is different. They know Zion is a unique talent, but live with the shadow of injuries. Brandon Ingram is still a long-term fit mystery. Losing Murphy now could hurt, but it could also open doors for bigger moves in the future. Whether pursuing draft picks or experienced veterans, New Orleans would only give him up if they were certain the return justified it. Trey Murphy III is only 23 years old. He stands 2.06 meters tall, weighs 93 kilograms, and plays as a forward, capable of operating at both the 3 and 4 positions. Last season, he averaged over 21 points per game, shooting nearly 60% overall, and over 40% from three-point range. Additionally, he contributed on the boards and showed defensive consistency. He's the kind of player reminiscent of what Mikal Bridges became with the Suns before turning into a key figure with the Nets. The modern two-way player, spacing the floor, attacking with smart cuts, and remaining versatile on defense. Want a clear reference? Think of a young Klay Thompson mixed with a bit of Mikal Bridges. He doesn't have Klay's historic shooting, but he has the size and versatility to defend multiple positions like Bridges. On a team like the Warriors, with Curry and Draymond setting the pace, Murphy could be the piece that multiplies the system. Someone who doesn't need the ball to be effective but punishes any defense that lapses. If this trade happened, what would the scenario be? Murphy would come in as an immediate starter at the 3 or 4 position, depending on adjustments with Wiggins. He would space the floor, provide more defensive energy, and could form ultra-versatile lineups. Imagine Curry, Clay, Murphy, Wiggins, and Draymond. A lineup with insane spacing, solid defense, and a mix of experience and youth. The detail is that Murphy still has a cheap rookie contract, which would give the Warriors financial breathing room to consider bigger adjustments in the future. Now, let's be realistic. The Pelicans won't give up Murphy easily. He's young, cheap, and still ascending. For New Orleans, trading Murphy only makes sense in 2 scenarios: receiving an immediate impact player to help Zion and Ingram, or accumulating draft capital for a major future trade. This is where negotiations get complicated. The Warriors would have to give up pieces like Kuminga, Moody, or even valuable draft picks. The question is it worth sacrificing the future for Murphy? Or is he practically the future right now? There are 3 possible scenarios. First, the Warriors pay the price Murphy arrives and becomes an absolute starter, making Golden State more competitive immediately. Second, the Pelicans hold on to the player, believing he's a key piece around Zion. Third, Murphy develops so much in New Orleans that in a short time, he could even become an all-star, driving the price even higher. In the end, fans, Trey Murphy III could be much more than just a good player. He could be the bridge between Curry's historic era and the Warriors' new phase. But the lingering question is, will Golden State have the courage and the capital to pay the price? Or will the Pelicans hold tight to one of the NBA's brightest young talents, still unrecognized as they should be? The future, once again, comes down to bold decisions, and we'll be following every detail of this saga. Trade Target 2, Derrick White. The Boston Celtics will not be title contenders next season. The reason? Every franchise's worst nightmare. Jason Tatum is out after rupturing his Achilles tendon. News that completely changes the course of the Eastern Conference and reshapes the plans of one of the NBA's most storied franchises. Looking at Boston's moves this offseason, the impression is clear. This is a sabbatical year, a forced period of breathing space, where veterans are released, the rotation is dismantled, and championship ambitions give way to reorganization. But even in this scenario, a central piece emerges, a name that could become a key talking point behind the scenes: Derrick White. Boston has shown no interest in letting the guard go, and it's easy to see why. White is the kind of player every coach loves to have on a roster. Competitive, cerebral, extremely solid defensively, and capable of adapting to different offensive roles. The problem is time doesn't stop. He'll be 32 by the time the Celtics are back competing for titles, with Tatum recovered. This doesn't mean the production will drop, but for a team looking to extend its championship window, it might make sense to consider trading for a younger piece. And this is where Golden State comes in. The Warriors, desperate to capitalize on Stephen Curry's remaining prime years, could see White as the perfect fit. Think for a moment, and despite still playing at a high level, we're able to guard multiple positions while sharing playmaking duties with Curry without disrupting the offensive flow. If Trey Murphy seemed like a bold solution, Derrick White is almost tailor-made. He wouldn't need the ball to be effective, could defend the opponent's best perimeter player, and still have room to be the third or fourth trusted man in the offense. On the other side of the table is Jonathan Kuminga. A 21-year-old with explosive athleticism, versatility, and untapped potential. For Boston, this would be a short-term opportunity. Someone to fill Tatum's absence, provide energy, and perhaps flourish in a larger role. Even if he doesn't become a star in Massachusetts, Kuminga could still become a valuable asset for a future trade if the Celtics want to accelerate their return to title contention. Now, let's analyze the tactical fit. White in Golden State would bring something the team has lacked since Klay Thompson's decline: absolute perimeter defensive consistency. He could rotate on guarding explosive guards and versatile wings, giving Curry freedom to focus more on scoring. Additionally, White has a disciplined game. He's not someone who disrupts systems. On a team like the Warriors, which relies on off-ball cuts, constant movement, and trust in extra passes, that is pure gold. Kuminga in Boston would have a chance he may never get in San Francisco. Guaranteed minutes, temporary offensive protagonism, and room to make mistakes without immediate punishment. Under Joe Mazzulla, he could develop not just as an athlete, but as a half-court player, refining shots and court vision. Of course, all of this depends on courage. For the Warriors, giving up Kuminga is sacrificing the future for one more immediate push in the Curry era. For the Celtics, trading Derrick White is accepting that 2025 will be a transition year, betting that Tatum's window will extend with a refreshed roster. Imagine the scenarios. If White wears a Warriors jersey, we see a rotation of Curry, White, Klay, Wiggins, and Draymond. A balanced lineup with strong defense, refined offensive movement, and experience. Meanwhile, the Celtics with Kuminga would have time and patience to develop a raw talent alongside Jaylen Brown, preparing the ground for Tatum's return. What stands out is that, unlike other rumors, this makes sense for both sides. Golden State doesn't need a young star for the future. They need stability now. Boston doesn't need White since they won't compete without Tatum, but they need to plant seeds. Kuminga is one of those seeds. In the end, fans, we face a classic NBA dilemma: immediacy versus patience. Derrick White could be the missing piece for the Warriors to contend for a title next season, but he could also be Boston's opportunity to quietly start a rebuild, ensuring Tatum's future is even longer and more promising. The question is, who will have the courage to pull the trigger? Would Golden State risk losing Kuminga? Would Boston really let White go? One thing is certain. If this trade happens, it completely changes the narrative for both franchises. And we'll be here following every detail of this possible turning point. Trade Target 3. Jarrett Allen. Although recent rumors indicate that Al Horford might be heading to the Bay Area to take on a role as starting center, the truth is that this isn't the ultimate solution. At 39 years old, Horford brings experience, intelligence, and perimeter shooting, but he doesn't bring youth. He doesn't bring the legs to endure 82 regular season games plus a heavy playoff run. This is why another name is starting to circulate behind the scenes: Jarrett Allen. The Cleveland Cavaliers center could be exactly the answer Golden State needs to protect Draymond Green, provide defensive support in the paint, and finally balance a team that has struggled for years without a dominant center. Think about it. The Warriors have always been known for small ball, for the revolution Curry and company created with speed, spacing, and three-point shooting. But the league has changed. Today, teams like the Nuggets with Jokic, the Bucks with Giannis, and even the Lakers with Anthony Davis dominate physically in the paint. And Golden State has no real answer. Horford would be a useful piece, but only temporarily. Allen, at 26 years old, could be the foundation for rejuvenating their interior defense. Of course, this only happens under a specific scenario. The Cavaliers would need to disappoint next season. If Cleveland regresses after so many investments, management might be forced to make tough decisions. Letting Jarrett Allen go would open the door for Evan Mobley still playing a high level, assume the center role full-time, something many have expected since he entered the league. And to avoid leaving empty-handed, Cleveland could target Jonathan Kuminga, integrating the young forward as a complement alongside Mobley and Darius Garland. This is a type of trade that aligns with realistic timelines. Allen has a solid contract, but with an important detail. His salary jumps from $20 million to $28 million in the 2026-27 season. This means a realistic window to trade him would be before the 2026 deadline. After that, his salary could become a burden. From the Warriors' perspective, it makes perfect sense. Imagine a lineup of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Jarrett Allen. A much stronger paint defense, guaranteed rebounds, shot blocks, physical presence, and the possibility to free Draymond to return to that versatile perimeter defender role without carrying the daily burden of battling giants. Allen isn't Jokic, he is an Embiid, and he won't deliver 30 points per night, but he is elite at rim protection, knows how to operate in pick and rolls, and doesn't require the ball to be effective. On a team like Golden State, which relies on discipline and impact without monopolizing possessions, he's the perfect fit. For Cleveland, Kuminga would be a bold but necessary bet. A young, athletic player who could grow alongside Mobley, bringing defensive versatility and potential offensive development. He's the type of asset that can be molded long-term without compromising the present. In the end, this rumor perfectly captures the Warriors' dilemma. Continue stacking aging veterans in an attempt to extend the Curry era, or invest in a player who could provide foundational support for the next 3 or 4 years of high-level play. Horford would be a band-aid, Allen a foundation, and the question remains, will the Cavaliers be willing to part with their starting center? And will the Warriors be ready to sacrifice their most promising young player for one last title run? So, fans, after analyzing these 3 names, the question is, which one would truly make a difference for the Warriors in the final stage of the Curry era? Jarrett Allen, Derrick White, Trey Murphy, or is the best move to hold on to Kuminga and bet on the future? Share your opinion in the comments, because this debate is just getting started. And if you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because here we follow every rumor, every trade, and every step of the Warriors and the entire NBA. The game is just beginning, and you won't want to miss a moment.